Hey guys, my name is John Singleton. I am here in Barcelona at Studio CrossFit, and today we are going to be taking you through how to get your first ring muscle up. Luckily, I am joined by Mire, who's going to be taking us through the demos. But before we get into the video, if you enjoy what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we will continue to be bringing you more content. Okay, so how do we get our first ring muscle up? So one thing that's important to note is for 99% of people who are looking to get their first ring muscle up, the journey should really start with getting your first strict ring muscle up. And the reason being is that we want those, it's just important that we have the ability to do something strict before we go into kipping, because the kipping then becomes easier, it's more of a technical skill, but actually if we have the foundational strength, then learning that technique on top of it is easier. So as we go through this video, we're going to be going through some of the prerequisites that you need in order to get that, and some drills and tips to help you along the way. So the first thing we are going to be doing is starting actually on the floor. The reason that we're starting on the floor is obviously you notice with the rings, they're extremely unstable, meaning that when you hop up to them, a lot of people move, wobble around quite a lot. Obviously with the bar and with the floor, we're on a stable surface, and that makes it easier to develop the strength, okay? So, Mire's just gonna hop on the floor, and the first thing she's gonna come into is a plank. Yeah, just a normal plank. Straight arm. And what we want to see is that everything's tight through the body, everything's loaded, and as you can see, the elbows and the arms are straight. And then Mire's just going to do a push-up, a nice simple push-up, like so. And now the one thing that's important with this style of push-up, especially for transfer to the ring muscle-up, is that the elbows come back. So she just comes down again and back up. So the elbows are actually tracking inside, and just relax. And what we're going to say is that before you move on to the next stage, you want to achieve 10 strict push-ups. In this style, there's various styles you can do push-ups. One with the elbows flared out, which is more chest dominant. However, this style focuses more on the triceps. So we're just going to have Miri go through that. She's going to do 10 strict push-ups. Okay, perfect. So that is kind of phase one or prerequisite one. Now obviously we need that for the dip portion of the ring muscle up. When you come through onto the dips, you're then going to be pressing out, and you need that tricep strength in order to do that. These strict push-ups are a great starting point, and obviously have a lot of transfer over to other movements within CrossFit, such as the burpee, push-ups, whatever kind of pressing movement we may have. The next thing we're going to do is, obviously, in order to get to this dip position, we need to pull ourselves there. So we are going to need a strict pull-up before we start our strict ring muscle up. So we're going to go over to the bar now. And again, we're using the bar, not the rings, because it's a stable surface or a stable object. The rings are a bit more unstable, which makes life tricky. Do you want to do that one or that one? We'll go that one. So first, Mire's just going to hang from the bar, just to make sure she's comfortable there. And then from this position, she's just going to do a simple pull-up. Okay, and relax, and then just relax back down. So this is our strict pull-up. Obviously, to get to the position to transfer, we need the strict pull-up. And the higher you can pull, the easier the strict ring muscle-up is going to be. So once you have that strict pull-up, we don't just now want to focus on getting the chin over the bar, but we want to try and get as low down as possible. Now, it requires quite a bit of different strength for when we push to the chin over the bar to try and get closer and closer to that chest. So what we're going to try and see now, Miri's going to jump up again. She's going to do exactly the same strict pull-up, but she's going to try and get the bar as close to her chest as possible. okay, and relax. So that was extremely good. You can see that she got very low down on the chest, which means that when we start looking at going onto the rings, things are going to become easier and easier to do. So we had our 10 push-ups, we have our strict pull-up. What we're actually going to do now is put in a slight test of can you hold your chest to the bar for 10 seconds. Yeah? So Miri's going to hop up. She's going to try and hold that top position in the pull-up, and we're going to put a rough timer on. I'm going to count for the 10 seconds. Yeah? So Miri hops up. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. And that was a great position. Actually, a lot of athletes really struggle to get that full contact with the chest, but that's quite normal. But the fact that you can get well over the chin is a good sign. And we do sometimes within gymnastics these isometric strength tests to help build the positioning. Okay. So now we're going to look at something that's very specific to the strict ring muscle up, and that is actually how we hold the rings. So we're going to come over to the rings we've set up here. So this is where you'll start to see a lot of athletes struggle on the strict ring muscle up because they're not used to holding this position. It's kind of uncomfortable, and as you can see, sometimes you get like a little callus formation on the wrist because you hold it in such a different position. So the way we do this, I come almost through the ring, and I'm going to try and put the ring onto the bottom of my wrist. I then hold round, and then this will be my false grip position. So as you can see, my forearm is quite flexed, and compared to the barbell where I'm holding in the palm, I'm actually going to be using my wrist and flexing around that position in order to hold it. So for those people who aren't accustomed, we need to start developing this false grip position. So Miri's just going to go into a ring row position with the body, but she's actually going to come into a false grip. Yep. And now you're just going to go down and take the and just just hold. So you can hold there. Yeah. So actually, you'll see we keep the rings faced in, and as you can see, the forearms will start to work quite a lot through here, and just relax. So as we go through our stages, we had our push-ups. We're trying to achieve 10. We're trying to achieve a 10-second hold with our chin over the bar, and now we're starting to develop specific positions for the strict ring muscle up, the first being this false grip. So we're actually going to try and hold now 30 seconds in the false grip. We've got the timer going, luckily. So I'll count from here. She's going to just go down. We're doing it at a ring row to start with because it allows you to be a bit more focused rather than just doing from a dead hang position. So she goes down, and the clock has started. We're going to try and keep the feet together so we keep our body in position. We're flexed through the forearms and holding here. Good, and we're already 10 seconds in. 15. 10 more seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, great. So now we know that the athlete, in this case Miri, is comfortable holding the false grip position. We know that she has suitable pressing strength on the floor and suitable pulling strength on the bar. The next thing we're going to do is test for how stable she is on the rings, and we want to try and develop that. So we go into something called a support hold. And what a lot of people may find, if you're new to jumping on the rings, it can come as quite a shock that the rings move all the way around and you've got no stability. And actually trying to control that stability takes a lot of energy. And so this is where we're going to go to now, the support hold on the ring. So Miri's just going to jump up. Now, if it's a new athlete, the one thing we can do is give them a little bit of stability by keeping the rings stable. So she jumps up, she holds the position, and by me just holding the rings in, I make it easier for her by giving that bit more stability. I slowly take my hands away, and as you can see, she's in control of that position. Okay, and just relax down. So we now come on to our next phase. Very similar to how we did the false grip hang in ring row, we're now going to come into the ring support. She's going to try and achieve 30 seconds in this position before we can move on to the next stage. So Mary's going to hop on, I'm going to time, we're going to go in 3, 2, 1, and we go. So what we're looking for here is that the elbows are straight. We almost tuck the rings into the body to create that stability. And as you can see, we're in this typical hollow position of gymnastics. We've got the core switched on, we're going through the legs. Good, 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, so that's the next stage accomplished. Now, really, if you've got the 10 strict pull-ups, this is more a matter of, it's a form of technique, but it's also just developing the time. This will start to develop quite quickly. So as the first time you jumped up, you'll be swinging all over the place. You can use a friend or someone just to hold the rings. You can place your foot on the floor, or you can even tie a band between the two rings to help develop that flexibility a bit more. Yeah? So, we're now going to come into a slightly more advanced version of our pressing. Once again, the rings are very unstable, so we're actually going to take it to a bit more of a stable platform again. Here we have like a high form of parallettes. These can be, you can put parallettes on boxes, you can put dumbbells on boxes, you can use whatever you have available, and it's not going to change the test too much. But now what I want to see is if the athlete is able to do the pressing strength from a position that's even more similar to where we end up in the ring dip. So Miri comes onto here, and you're just going to take your feet in front. Good. And now you're just going to dip down in that position. Perfect, and back up. And once more, and back up. And once more, and back up, and relax. So the reason that we're testing this now is because this shoulder position is, it's an extremely hard position to go into. If you think about how many times in your life your shoulder has gone into this position, my guess is it's close to none. And therefore, before we start throwing ourselves through the rings on an unstable object, we want to make sure that we have some form of control on this stable surface and that the athlete is actually strong enough. So just like our push-ups, this time we're just going to do 5 reps, but we're going to do 5 reps in this close to a dip position. Good. 1, and we want to try and achieve that full depth, which Miri is doing now. 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. Now, some gyms have what are called parallel bars that you'll have seen in gymnastics. Therefore, obviously, you can go into the parallel dip into those, or we have what's called a matador, which you can attach onto a rack, which is in essence a stable platform like this, where you could go into a full dip position. So use what you have available, and what we want to try and do is start to mimic that position. Okay. We now take this exercise and we're going to take it directly onto the rings. So until I know that an athlete can do a good ring dip, I won't even begin trying to look at the strict ring muscle up. So Miri's going to come onto here now, and she's just going to try a ring dip. What we'll do to start with is we'll just let her use the feet a little. So as she comes down, she can place the feet on the floor to give her a bit of support and then come up. And then the next time we'll see. So as you can see, the feet are helping here, which makes life a lot easier because you can start to offload some of the weight. Okay, and relax. And now what we're going to do, I'm actually going to take these a little higher, which just means that she won't be able to use the feet anymore, and we can really test that ring dip strength. So I'm just taking these Okay, so now we have the ring set up a bit higher so she won't be able to use the feet. Mary's going to come on and try a strict ring dip. Perfect, and relax. So in this position, we're not necessarily looking for a minimum number of reps as a prerequisite, but that the athlete is very comfortable doing this, in the sense that when they come down, there's no hesitation about coming up from the bottom. They're not having to use any other parts of the body. So what we can often see is that the athlete tries and swings the legs or extends a lot, and that's probably a sign they don't have the strength in the arms yet in order to do the strict ring dip, and therefore the strict ring muscle up. Okay, so now we know that the athlete has a good pulling strength or sufficient pulling strength. We also know that the athlete has sufficient pressing strength. The big thing we need to do now is start to have the athlete comfortable transitioning. And this is one of the most technical aspects of the ring muscle up. We have to go from the pull and we have to transition through into the strict ring muscle up, okay? So we're just going to set up another station and then we will come back. So now we're going to start looking at how we can develop the transition, which arguably is the hardest technical part of the ring muscle up, both in strict and in kipping. So once again, we're not going straight onto the instability of the rings, but we've set up a relatively stable platform. Here we're using boxes. You can use jerk blocks. Again, if you have parallel bars available at your gym, that's the perfect place to practice. But for now, we're going to be doing it with boxes. So as we're learning the movement, it's important that first of all we're going to use the feet as support just to see that the athlete has control. So Millie's going to hop on and start with, she's just going to use support her body weight with her feet. And all she's going to do is roll forward into the dip and back out. And as you can see, the shoulder's going from not necessarily 100% where it will be, but we start to finish that dip so we know that the athlete is comfortable. Once they're happy with the movement, we then actually take the feet away and we're going to start having the athlete move through and then dip out. And as you can see, it starts to become significantly harder without having the feet on the floor. But what we're going to try and achieve now, in this instance, we're going to just achieve 5 reps to make sure Mide is comfortable, and then we will move on. So as you can see, one of the important things about this drill as well is it will take you to where you're going to be in the ring dip, which is in for the ring dip portion of the strict ring muscle up, which is in a very deep dip. And therefore it is important that you're strong enough to handle this exercise before we start moving on and as we go through. This is called the Russian dip. And again, accumulating volume with this exercise is really useful for strengthening the shoulders to get accustomed to that position. Okay. So now we're going to start putting more and more things together. So if you've managed to get this far and you've managed to achieve all of the exercises we've spoken about, we're now actually going to start from the top of the rings. So in order to do that, we're actually going to have set the boxes so she can jump to the top, and then she's slowly going to come down in what we call our eccentric ring muscle up. The reason that we do the eccentric is because we're a lot stronger eccentrically. It's more taxing on the body, however we have a lot more strength so we can control those positions a lot easier than having to do the concentric version, which is obviously harder. So we're going to set up the boxes so Millie can jump to the top, and then we're going to show you the eccentric ring muscle up. So as you can see, the rings are at a relatively high height in the gym. So what we've done is set up the boxes to walk up. But just set the boxes up to a height that you feel comfortable with based on your gym and your location. So Millie's comfortable at this height. So what she's going to do the first thing she'll do is she's actually going to jump to the support. The support we've already been through, so we know the athlete's comfortable there. We know that she has the control in both the pulling and the pressing in order to manage this movement. And we know that she's been through the movements of the transition, so she has a rough idea of what the body is going to be doing. So Millie's going to jump up to the support. She's just going to hold that position, and just as a coach, as the first few times, I'm just going to help support her here. And once she's got control of the rings, she's now just going to lower herself down. So you notice she goes through the dip, the transition, and relaxes. So, as you can see, we're now very close to the movement pattern of the strict ring muscle up. We're just doing it in an easier form, which is the eccentric form. So now what we are going to do is we're going to try and make that even slower. So we're kind of stimulating to see if the athlete has control before we start moving into the concentric exercise. So we're going to try and hold, or try and go down for 10 seconds. I'm going to count the 10 seconds. So Millie's going to jump up. She's going to take control herself this time. And I'm going to count to 10. So when I start at 1, she starts to go down and tries to arrive at 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. So all these indicators are telling me that there's a good chance that Millie is able to do the strict ring muscle up, or she's going to be very close, and we are close to achieving that goal. The biggest thing we see in this eccentric ring muscle up drill is that people have problems with this transition. So what will happen, they'll come down in the dip slowly, they'll then just pop through, and then come down at the bottom of the pool slowly. However, this transition, it's just important that you have control. So make sure you're holding the rings close into the body. You don't let them move away or it gets harder. It requires more strength. So keep them close as we transition and dip out. Okay. So what's going to happen now is, because I'm here, I can help support Millie in this exercise. You can use bands for this. However, it's a lot better to have someone helping you, because it's a lot easier for them to give more pressure or less pressure at different parts of the movement. With the band, it's always going to be, it's a lot harder to make those changes when you need them, okay? Okay, so we are now in our final stages of the strict ring muscle up. Now in this part, the person helping, the coach, becomes useful because they can really start to mimic the movement and give just a little bit of extra support. I can choose if I give a lot of support or minimal support. Obviously, the less support I give, the harder the movement gets. So Millie's now going to go into the false grip hang. I'm just going to make sure as a coach that she's not swinging. That also makes the movement harder. And then when she's ready, she's going to pull, and I'm just going to assist. And we push through and then relax. So as you can see here, it obviously requires less pulling strength, less control of the transition, and less dip, all because I'm giving some of the momentum. So on this next rep, I'm going to give a little bit less help. We're going to see if Millie can achieve it again. If that is the case, I'm going to let her go alone for the strict ring muscle up. Okay, so we're going to be here, and this time I do exactly the same thing, except give a little less support. I'm just going to stabilize, and then we go through. Okay. And relax. Okay. So now we have the moment of truth. Is Millie, she's able to hit all of the prerequisites. Just as we go through, went through our push-ups, our chest to bar isometric hold. We went through our false grip hang. We went through our support. We went through the ring dip progressions, we went through the transition. Finally, we moved into the eccentric ring muscle up and then the supported ring muscle up. And now we're at the point where we will try the strict ring muscle up. Okay. Perfectly executed. Yeah? So obviously May's very competent in the strict ring muscle up. But as you can see, she was able to achieve all of the prerequisites of strength. And it really is important that if you're really looking to develop the strict ring muscle up, that you go through these progressions and make sure you can do it. Because I can assure you, once you have the strict ring muscle up, learning the kipping ring muscle up is going to be easier because you know you have the foundational strength. So, I hope this video helped you guys. If you have any comments, questions, leave them below. And good luck with your first strict ring muscle up.